Hi, everyone. I'm James Protin. I'd like to give a special thank you to our sponsors for the podcast, Candelore's Barking Beauties, with 5 locations throughout the region, and His Place Coffee Community and more here in Menneson for hosting us.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Candelore, owner of Candelore's Barking Beauties, where our salon is your salon. We have 5 convenient locations, no appointment needed. All breeds welcome. Any size dog. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. We have 5 convenient locations: Elizabeth, White Oak, Finleyville, Monongahela, and Irwin. Love to have you visit us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm James Protin, your host, and we're happy to be here once again at His Place Coffee Community and More in Menneson, PA, where they are changing the world one great cup of coffee at a time. We're very happy that they've welcomed us here, and we found a home with these folks. We have an interesting show today. We have actually an amazing show today. I'm excited to have Kelly Frost with us. Kelly is the founder and CEO of Frost Executive Services. She has more than 20 years of thriving success in the fields of consulting, strategic planning, marketing, advertising, publishing, management, media production, communications, event planning, human resources, and just about everything else that you could do in the world. She's adamant about empowering and inspiring women and men in business and in life. She's facilitated the launch of a national publication, Inspiring Lives Magazine, a magazine with an emphasis on business, lifestyle, health, wellness, travel, and many other sections of a person's life. And what's really interesting is that she's brought to the region and the market PEEL, P-E-E-L, which is Pittsburgh's Elevated and Emerging Leaders. It serves women and men from a place of kindness, philanthropic endeavors, personal achievement, personal development, and playful purpose. She believes in promoting the empowerment through enrichment and shared experiences. The organization cultivates joy as an essential component to both our success and our well-being. So join me in welcoming Kelly Frost to the podcast. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. And that's more than a mouthful, all of
it
that.
It is.
I mean, I'm like almost tired just listening to it.
Well, how do you have time to do anything? Do you have a personal life at all? Because that is amazing.
Well, actually, I kind of do have a personal life. I make time for my husband.
That's awesome.
We have our Tuesday date nights. We go out every Tuesday.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you got to make time for that.
That's very important.
Yeah,
I just did that last night with Terry Lynn. So
where did you go?
We went right over here to a little place called the Spear Street Grill, a little bistro. It's amazing, great food, just a really, really cool atmosphere. And we like it there. We've been going there as long as we've been together. So
nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, whenever we first were, getting engaged, we went and our minister said, you have to make time. You make time for your friends, make time for your spouse, and everything else will make, everything go smoothly. So we've kind of stuck to that.
That's good.
Seems to be working.
That's wonderful. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your business, about Frost Services. Tell me a little bit.
So Frost Executive Services is my business consulting.
Okay.
I do strategic planning, advertising, marketing, personal branding, business branding, photography, videography, event planning. A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. I like to really take a deep dive into small businesses, entrepreneurs, kind of figure out where they're struggling, where their opportunities are, and help them figure out what they're doing that they don't like,
right,
where we can outsource that, and help them get back in the lane that they really love, and so they can start loving their business again.
Do you find that it's difficult for them to accept when you point out strengths, weaknesses, those types of things?
Sometimes. The people that have great emotional intelligence, no. The other ones, we teach them emotional intelligence. Because some people, that's your baby,
right,
and it's hard to hear that your
put
baby.
Your heart and soul in it,
yes, right? Yeah. Telling someone that your baby's ugly.
That's
you
true.
have to phrase it the right way.
It's a difficult conversation, no matter how you do it.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're right. You have to love it to do it.
Right. So a lot of people are open to it, and they know, hey, I need help, and that's why you're here, is to help me. And if they can accept that, it works wonderfully. And if they can't, then it's just a matter of, okay, so this is why I'm here, and this is the difficulty that you're having. Let's figure it out. And at the end of it, they're pretty open. So once they start seeing the changes, and that they have more time for themselves, and they love what they're doing again, and they're all of a sudden, oh, I love my business. yeah, it makes a difference.
And that's awesome. And that has to be rewarding for you.
It does. Yeah, it is.
To be able to help somebody to find that, really trying to channel that passion, right?
Yep. A lot of times when I do headshot sessions, one of my other friends that I work with, Dominique Murray, she's a phenomenal photographer. We do quarterly sessions.
Okay.
And we started doing these out of need because when I would ask people, hey, can you send me your headshot and your bio? And I would get a cell phone pic. And I was like, okay, that's not a headshot,
Right.
So I started to really teach people about branding. And, when I would talk to them about that, and they were like, oh, well, I don't like to get my picture taken. I'm not photogenic, and I don't want to be in front of the camera. Well, I hear that a lot, so you have to kind of talk people through that. So we started doing these sessions all day long. And we bring in hair and makeup, and we'd bring in someone with jewelry so they could have a little bit of extra bling. But we would talk to them beforehand, get them comfortable with being themselves and being in front of the camera. We'd have a little bit of wine if they needed it. We'd have a little bit of coffee if they needed that instead.
Nice.
But it's such a fun day because these people would walk in with their shoulders down and kind of intimidated and shy. And by the time we were done with them, they were beaming when they walked out of there. They were confident, they were happy, and they had a great headshot when they left.
That's great.
And we always do these on a Friday, and like one of the last comments we say is, okay, now you're happy, you're confident, you got full hair and makeup, and you look fantastic. Go find your spouse, go get a date, go get a girlfriend, go out and go have a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so.
awesome. Nobody is completely comfortable with who they are in their space, right? Because we really don't know, because we're our own worst enemy, right? Our harshest critic. So we don't see ourselves the way the rest of the world sees us. And when you can do something like that and really put that, say, look, this is you. Look at that. I would imagine that, especially women, because women are harder on themselves than men are.
Oh yeah,
right. And,
absolutely.
I would look at that, and I've done headshots and things like that. It's an essential part of the business. It's part of work. I have to do that. It's not because I enjoy doing that or I need to have that, but I have to have it for work, right? But whereas I would go in and I don't need any of that. Just take the picture, tell me which way to turn my head, how do I, but I would think that investment that you're talking about, that's what separates you from your competition. I would say, because I don't think everybody's doing that.
Right. And that's one of the things that we tell people. It's not just for models or, everyone has to have that. And that really is the first thing that people see. So you got to put your best face forward whenever you're sending anything to anybody.
And it's not just business brand, it's personal branding as well.
Right. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, that's one of the empowerment pieces that we have in the business. So we're empowering them to be themselves, all the way.
And you do straight up marketing, advertising campaigns and things like that?
Yes, yeah. And especially rebranding these days because of COVID.
Sure.
Everyone uses that word pivot.
Yep.
They had to pivot their business. Now they're doing something completely different. They were in the office. They were with a company, and the company went under. Now what do I do? Well, this thing was a hobby for me. Now I'm going to make it into a business, but I have no idea how to make it into a business. So it's a matter of rebranding them. They went from doing this, now they're doing this. So that's a lot of fun. Rebranding, I think, is exciting.
It is, and I think you should do it often. I really do. I started my own journey probably at the end of 2016, right? So I had been doing business development and marketing in the engineering industry for a long time. And it was one of those things where, and I'm curious if you've encountered things like this before, but there were no dragons left to slay, so to speak, right? I won a big project, a huge project, and it was like, okay, been there, done that, that's not, I lost that passion, and I needed somebody to come in, and I should have gone to someone like you to help me to channel that and to find it and put it in. I knew it was there, but I couldn't find it, right? So I decided to basically semi-retire and start doing consulting, which was a great decision considering that 3 months after I did it, COVID hit, okay? So I encountered a business, and they kind of really kept me through it as a client. And then after all of that, I decided, you know what, this is just like, I'm way too old and this is way too hard. And I waved the white flag and I went back into corporate America, and I'm really happy doing that because I've been doing this long enough that I'm able to create my own schedule and do those things, to do things like this. But along the way, I learned the value of everything that you're talking about that your company does. And I think that most people would think that they couldn't afford all of that, right? That, oh my God, hair, makeup, jewelry, all these things, I could never afford that. I can't do that.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that we do a full day of it. We usually have between 10 and 14 people that come in for the day.
Okay.
So we make it affordable.
Right.
I mean, our packages start at $100.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And most people wouldn't believe that.
No, yeah. And, that's just for a couple of headshots, but then we bring in hair and makeup, but the jewelry, it doesn't cost anything. We're just blinging them out for free.
Right.
Now, if they end up loving it, they can buy it if they want to. But there's no pressure, there's no salesy, there's nothing like that. It's just a matter of, I really like this brand of jewelry, so I bring it in for people, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And people need to get that message, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people who just won't make that call because of that. They think it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, no, everything we do is really rounded about the people that we're serving. I've always been a kind of a servant leader, and it's never been about money for me.
Okay.
I just really want to help people, and however I can do that is how I'm going to do it. It's never guided by. I always tell my clients, don't chase money.
Sure.
You can't chase money. Chase people. Help people. If you see a need, fill a need. I always tell my clients that. Whatever need it is, you see that need, fill that need. Don't chase money, because it doesn't ever work out for anybody that way.
Right.
And it's not authentic.
It isn't. You're exactly right. And if you do it that way, the money will find you.
That's right.
It really will. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about. I mean, we have a mutual acquaintance. You know her better than I do, but Dr. Shelley Hipsky. She's when we're talking to her about doing the show, and but Inspiring Lives magazine. I think it's a great publication. I've advertised in it, and she's just she's ferocious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like so. Tell me a little bit about how, for your role and how that all came to be, because, her background and, this all is just, it's impressive. And again, I don't know how she does it either. But
she doesn't sleep. Well, honestly, Pittsburgh's a small town, and networking is everything. And every opportunity that you have leads into another one. Every networking opportunity that you go to or group leads into something else. So it actually all started with working with Darius Chisholm.
Okay.
And that was in 2014, 15. And we were doing her video podcast.
Okay.
And Shelley was one of the guests. So that's how I got to meet Shelley.
Okay.
And there was this common thread through every podcast that we went to that, I was producing Darius' show and doing all the behind the scenes and following up afterwards. And everybody kept saying, oh my God, I need a Kelly. I need a Kelly.
Sure.
And Darius would laugh and go, well, you can't have my Kelly. You can't have
your
her.
own Kelly.
Yeah, I'm keeping her. So it was always like a common joke that we had.
Yeah.
And then when Darius said to me, hey, listen, by the way, I've decided I'm going to move to Jamaica. And I said, well, that's kind of a far commute for me. I still have 2 kids in school. I don't think I'm going to be able to come with you. So we put a bunch of the episodes in the can, and I was, producing them from Pittsburgh, and she was enjoying Jamaica, and we were having phone calls, and she was on the beach, and I was in Pittsburgh. And
wow.
Yeah, so, but she had said to me, listen, I know a few people have reached out to you and said that they wanted to work with you, and I'm very loyal, so I politely declined. And she said, go ahead. I know you wanted to start your own company, and everything turns into something else.
Sure.
And she said, go ahead and reach out to these people that, you feel like would be a good fit for you. Okay. Shelley was one of them.
Okay.
So I called her, and I think I sent her a message and said, if you want to have lunch, Darius is moving on to another country, and I'm looking for new clients. It was like a half an hour, and she was like, yes, let's do lunch, let's do it. We went to a restaurant down in Station Square, and she was like, absolutely, I have all these balls in the air, and I want to do all this stuff. And a lot of times in business, there's a visionary and there's an integrator.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I'm usually the integrator.
Okay.
So that is how everything started for me. Darius was the visionary, I was the integrator. Same with Shelley. She had all these balls, didn't know how to juggle.
Right.
So first time that we met, she was like, let's do a live. And I thought to myself, let's not do a live. I do not want to be in front of the camera. I'd like it behind the camera. That was my comfort area.
Right.
Not her. She was on, and she's making me do lives and talking. And you can see in my face the panic. Like, I am in front of the camera. This is not where I want to be. But it was a good thing because she really pulled me out of my shell for that.
Sure.
So we got to talking, and she was telling me about her nonprofit and what she was doing. And Some things were kind of making sense, and some things she decided didn't.
Okay.
It's all about going through business and finding out what makes you happy.
Exactly.
So in my past, I had some journalism background, and I had some advertising background, and I worked in a newspaper and what have you. And she said, oh, you know what, I've always kind of wanted to do a magazine. And I said, that's on my list. I'd like to do a magazine too. So we started talking about it, and this opportunity came up, and we had been putting things away for it. You know, it was on our list, and it was going to happen. Yep. So this opportunity came up, and this company said, you know, we'd like to have a magazine. We don't have one in this stack. Can you put yours together in 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks?
So she says, they said this to Shelley. So Shelley calls me and goes, we got this great opportunity. We're going to put the magazine together. And I was like, great. How long do we have? And she said, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thanks.
And I looked at her and I started laughing. I said, I thought you said 2 weeks. And she goes, I did. Can we do this in 2 weeks? And I said, no. And she goes, well, we're doing it in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So I climbed in bed with my laptop, and I threw my husband out. And 2 weeks later, I got out of bed because there was no sleep. There was just work. That's all we did. But the very first issue, we had it out in 2 weeks. And we had print. I mean, it was beautiful.
It's a great publication. I mean, it's amazing. It's totally amazing.
I mean, we had everything. I mean, we had our editor up and running. We had photography that was phenomenal. We had all of our articles. We had advertisers. I mean, it was great. So, I mean, they always say your first is your worst.
Right.
And it probably was.
Sure.
But after that, they just kept getting better and better.
But you got it done.
Yeah, we did.
That's the key. You got it done. And that is, I'm certain, how your team came together.
Yes.
Doing that, you knew that there was nothing that was going to come up down the road that you weren't going to be able to overcome.
Yeah, I don't fail at things. And when something's like thrown at me, I'm like, okay, so it's at a 4, we're going to make this at a 10.
Yeah,
and and Shelley's a hustler, so we got it in, and it was nice. It was great. We were very proud of that.
Well, you should be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. It really is, because it takes 2 weeks to even just like get going. I mean, that just is mind-boggling. I didn't know that story, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's because it's such a great publication.
Thank you. Yeah.
And at that time, people were actually getting away from print for the most part, right? So it was a bold decision to jump into there to begin with.
Yeah, I truly believe in print magazines. I mean, we also ended up being online, and we had an app as well. That all kind of came a little bit later, but print is it's fantastic.
Sure.
And one of the things I love that people would say to us is they'd pick up the magazine and smell it, because just the smell of print and the smell of the paper, it's infectious.
It is.
You know?
It is.
So our sales were up, our subscriptions were up. And in 2017, we had an opportunity to go to Philadelphia to the women's conference. And, you know, just everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
And we ran into a publisher that published a ton of well-known magazines. And they said, do you want to go national?
Wow.
I mean, it just happened. And we went to all the Barnes & Noble stores. So we did that for a few years, and then, as you know, COVID hit.
Right.
So when Barnes & Noble closes down, you can't sell your magazine.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so Shelley made the decision to close it then.
Okay.
So, and then it just was online, and now it's just online. And her passion is coaching.
Sure.
So she moved into that, which, again, just knowing what your passion is, knowing what the next step in your journey is priceless. So not holding on to things that don't serve you any longer is very intelligent.
Jill, absolutely. Now, do you go down that path yourself as far as coaching and mentoring maybe young men or women who are interested in doing what you do?
So I love to speak to like college age kids because they're just now starting to really realize what they want to do.
Right.
I have 2 kids. So my daughter's 16, my son's 21. My son sort of went down part of my path. He's an entrepreneur.
Okay.
He has his own nonprofit. He kind of found his passion very young in life.
Wow, nice.
Stuck to it and is doing that now.
Excellent.
My daughter is just every other week is something different,
right?
You know, so I'm just kind of letting her find herself, yeah. Sure. And I just keep telling her, just do whatever you want. But I even went to a networking group this week, and it was for Pittsburgh magazine. Okay. And I had 2 college-age females from Seton Hill come up, and they said, "Hey, can we just talk to you about your journey and this?" And I loved it. It was great just talking to them.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, I have a captive audience. It's been a while because everybody's been, on Zoom and everything else. And it was great just having face-to-face interaction with them. And the next day, they both were reaching out to me on LinkedIn, like, hey, can we have coffee? Can we go meet? And I was like, absolutely.
How cool
yeah.
is that?
Do you want to intern?
Right. No, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to go down the coaching route just yet. Mm-hmm. I'm really involved in the networking group that I just kind of launched this last month. So I really want to put all my energy there right now.
Peel, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me, that's a good segue. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that really excites me, because I love networking, I love people, and I love to get out there and do those same types of things. So tell me a little bit, what led you there to that?
So again, everything leads to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So as the magazine, COVID happened in March 2020. In January, I was asked to come on board with another networking group, mm-hmm. and they just said, hey, can you come and volunteer here? We really need, a director for Pittsburgh. And I just thought, okay, I don't have time, but, I had been involved with that group for a little while, and I really loved the members that were there. Okay. So I agreed. And I just thought, I'll find time. And I did. COVID hit. The magazine went, out of print. So I thought, all right, well, this was meant to be. So during COVID, I just really dove into that networking group and built it up. And I had so many ideas for it, which I had ideas because I've always kind of wanted to have my own networking group one time. Sure. So it was sort of like just building and building and building. And when COVID was done, I didn't want to leave the ladies, but, timing is everything. Right. So at the end of 2021, I, stepped back and wished them well and said, I'm just going to do something a little bit different right now. And I was just ready to just jump out. It's one thing whenever you're working with someone else, mm-hmm. Like you're the nanny and you're watching someone else's baby. Sure. You're the au pair. Right. You've got a fancy title and it's someone else's baby. Right. It's another thing when you have your own baby and you call all the shots and you can do whatever you want. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying just being able to do what I think is best for this. And it's been amazing. It's only been 25 days since we actually launched, but I mean, we've got members, we've got our volunteers, which I call them champions. Okay. Because it's Pittsburgh's elevated and emerging leaders. Okay. So instead of volunteers or ambassadors, I call them champions. There you go. Our branding colors are black and gold. We're the city of champions. We're in Pittsburgh, city of champions, absolutely. I'm all about branding and marketing, so so we're just we're getting them all together. We're having a big event for them, for the champions next week, and it gives me a chance to really love on them. Sure. And explain things to them and give them some gifts, and that's kind of my love language is gift giving. So it's going to be a good time. And we've got a big launch happening in May. Okay. We're going to do a night at the races. So, one of our pillars, as you said, was playful purpose. Sure. Life is too short not to have fun. Oh my goodness, absolutely. That's a very difficult lesson I learned late in life. Yeah. Yeah. There's too many people that are just so serious all the time. Right. Right. So I really wanted to incorporate within this group that everything is led by kindness, joy, and charity, giving back. So we really incorporate a charity into everything that we do. Okay. But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just surface level. Sure. Some places, they just don't know how to really dive deep into that. Mm-hmm. So when they have luncheons or whatever else, they just say, hey, we're going to collect clothing, which is great. If they know where it's going and that is serving a purpose. But I really wanted to dive into the charities that we are serving and find out exactly what it is. So instead of just giving you clothes, is that what you need? When they tell me we don't need clothes, we're donating the clothes that we get. We really need boots. We really need feminine hygiene. We really need some sort of makeup for ladies that are getting back into the workforce that need makeup. Mm-hmm. Some people don't even think of that. Right. Right. No, I wouldn't think of that. You think you're going to make a donation and boom, you drop it off and you feel good about yourself, but you don't think that what if they don't actually need that donation, right? So I've taken the time to really partner with several different charities. I'm trying to do 4 a year so that I really take 3 months at a time with each one. So that we really have the time to dedicate to them. That's a great model. That's wonderful. Yeah. So the first one is Sister's Place. Okay. So they actually have their event coming up in the next couple of weeks. Well, 2 weeks actually. Okay. So my members and my champions from Peel were volunteering at their event. Oh, okay. And then they're going to come to our event as well. But we are also giving back at our event. A portion of the proceeds are going back to Sister's Place.
Okay, good.
But all of our marketing is talking about what they need. So when they have an Amazon list and they say, we need vacuum cleaners, we're even putting that little link out there. Hey, who wants to get them a vacuum cleaner?
Right.
You know, because that's really what they need. So yeah, so that's the first one that we're doing. And at the night at the races, it's going to be at the Rivers Club, and it's going to be so much fun. So we have got Kim Gables emceeing, and Jeff Hancher. He is just so inspirational.
Yeah, great people.
So he's going to come. It's everyone that I've brought on the team or that's associated with everything was very intentional. I handpicked everybody, and I asked them to come and really made sure that they had the time and they wanted the effort to put forth with this.
Right.
But it's the heart. It starts with the heart.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
I don't care what your title is. I don't care how much money you have. I really care about your intention, and I care about where everything comes from the heart, because you have to always do what you love and be serving people in the right way.
Absolutely. So how do I become a member?
So you can go on thepeelproject.com, and that's the website. And there's 4 different levels of membership too. There's just not one level.
Okay.
So you can be an individual, or you can be a mentor, or an advocate, or a partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
excellent.
Yeah, trying to make sure that everybody can be a part of it, however they're comfortable.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Wonderful. We'll take a look at it and absolutely put that out there and share it with our audience. So I hope my mother's paying attention. She's not
Come on, Mom, you got to be a member.
So now, one of the things that we didn't touch on, and it's something that we share. You basically you started your entrepreneurial journey, and you were a single mom for a while, right? And you had all of that going on. And I've talked to a lot of people. I was very similar, although it's a little bit different from the male perspective. My children were older whenever my marriage ended, but also when I started this journey, right? So what hurdles did that put in front of you that you had to overcome that really wouldn't have been there without that situation in your personal life as you were building your business?
Well, frankly, whenever I was going through my divorce, I was waiting tables and bartending because you kind of have to work around your kids' schedules. It's very hard to work a 9 to 5 when you've got a newborn.
Right.
Because my daughter was just born when I had separated from my first husband.
Okay.
And I decided that to make everything work for me, I needed to go back to school.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I went and got my bachelor's degree from Penn State.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive. That is impressive because, I know what that's like. Wow.
Yeah. So I had taken a little break whenever I had my first son, my only son, but my first child. Whenever I had him, I took a break from school and just decided, you know what? I need to make my kids proud one day, and I need to make sure that I can provide for them. And waiting tables and bartending wasn't going to be enough for that. And I didn't know where my future was going to be as far as anything else, so I needed to just depend on myself. So that's what it was.
It had to be a lonely feeling.
It is for a little while, but I kind of surrounded myself with really great girlfriends. And that's, and my family was there for me too. But I think, that's one of the reasons that right now I organize a lot of girl getaways and girls' nights, because I always tell them, having a great set of good friends that will be there at the drop of a hat is crucial. And I started to have that at that time. So after I graduated from school, I was starting to do advertising while I was in school because I could work that around my schedule. That was when I was an entrepreneur. That's how it all starts. Sure. Yeah. And then after that was with Darieth, but right after that really is when I started to learn that how important friendships are.
Right.
And it's not just about being in business together, but it's really deep friendships. And you have to cultivate that, and you have to make sure that you are giving in as much as you give back. Right. It's always a two-way street.
Absolutely. And the giving's the most important part, right? Because if you don't give yourself, you're not going to get anything in return. Right. You're not going to get that deep relationship. You got to be vulnerable. You have to open yourself up and take some chances.
Yeah. And I always tell my ladies too, make sure that you're filling your cup, because you can't give to anybody else when your cup is empty.
Exactly.
So I started actually doing these ladies' getaway weekends.
Okay.
And I know some people think, oh, that's just crazy. You're just having a good time, but it's not.
Right.
It's really getting in touch with yourself, and it is like really having deeper relationship with ladies. So we go to Ogilvy, and there's like 15 of us.
Is that right? I love Ogilvy. It's a great place.
I had never been there till I started doing these.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So there's 15 of us. It's the whole weekend. Friday night, I have food that comes in so that no one has to cook all weekend. And to some of them, that's a blessing.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then Saturday night, I have the chef and owner from Bellicera. He travels up, and he cooks for everybody on Saturday.
He's a good guy.
Yes. He's
a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Jason's great.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So he comes up.
You see how what a small world.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So
yep. So he comes up and he cooks for everyone. And these women love to sit there and just watch him. They learn different things. And I'll tell you, I am not a good cook. I'm not ashamed to say it. You know, I'm not a good cook, but I have actually learned so much just watching Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So he teaches everyone, and the food is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yes. So, I mean, it's wonderful. And they look forward to that. And then, you know, Friday and Saturday night, we play games, and we bond, and we talk, and everybody gets along so great. I do a clothing swap or a house swap. So anyone brings up their items from their homes that no longer serve a purpose for them. Mm-hmm. So if you've changed in sizes, or if you've changed in jobs, and the clothes you have don't no longer work in your closet, they bring everything up. And the downstairs, it's like a shopping. So everybody comes up, so it doesn't cost them anything. So if you're in that kind of stage of your life where you can't afford anything like that, you can walk either with a new wardrobe.
It's amazing.
And then anything that's left over, I do donate to one of the charities that I work with. So, I mean, it's a win-win everywhere that we go.
This is fascinating. So how did you just sit around and just come up with this concept? I mean, it didn't just pop into your head one day. You had to give it some thought.
It was during the pandemic, and there was just a lot of people that were pivoting, like I said. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, now I have to do this. Or, you know, quite frankly, a lot of people gained weight during COVID, and they were like, nothing fits. I can't find any clothes, and my jeans pop open. And it was like, okay, everybody's kind of feeling like that. Or some people were like, that's it, I'm taking these next 6 months and I'm getting in shape. Nothing fits, it's all falling off of me. So I thought, well, you know, this is all kind of making sense. It's like the perfect marriage there. So,
sure.
But then we kind of said, all right, now bring jewelry, bring shoes. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of shoes that were very small heels. I can't wear those anymore. I have to have the bigger heel. My balance is gone. So anyone who was a size 7.5 made out the first couple, because I kind of have a shoe problem. And I brought them all up, and they were like, oh my gosh, there's like 40 pairs of shoes. And I was like, please take them. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and that's great, because you know you can't. I've always been a big believer that you can have fun and be productive and successful. That's not mutually exclusive, right? And you know, in the engineering business, which is a very stressful, you know, and it's an all-consuming career. It really is. And but to be able to find that path to enjoy that, and that's what we've always done, is try to build a team and through those interpersonal relationships, right? Because that's what team is, right? It's all about relationships and culture and a group of people coming together for a common goal. Why not have fun doing that?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we always end our weekends on Sunday morning, so we have to check out around 2. So I incorporated this little ritual that we have. I have these little trophies. They're plastic trophies. They're not worth anything, right? But at the beginning of the weekend, I pair everybody up with a roommate. And so no one gets to pick, so no one's feelings are hurt. I pick everybody, and I don't tell them till they get there.
Okay.
And I say, you know, on Sunday, you're going to exchange trophies with your roommate, because I get to know them a little bit better and what have you. And you get to present them and say a little something to them. There's not a dry eye in the house on Sunday morning.
So cool.
And they all sit there and say, this was so great, I got to know you, and this is what I think of you. And, you know, it's not like best eyes. It's like, you know, best heart, and this is why. Right. Or you're the best at this, or you're the best listener, and this is why. Thank you for listening to me with this, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's a bond those two people didn't have before they walked in.
Sure.
But the trophy, it gives them, so when they go home and they put it like in their bedroom or their office, that is a reminder of the weekend. And that's a reminder if someone else thinks that they're the best of something.
Absolutely.
So that they can keep seeing that, and it symbolizes that.
That is so cool. And I don't want to go down the path of feminism, and I don't want to open that can of worms. But I'm sitting here as a guy, and I have a couple of friends of mine who are our studio audience. I should acknowledge them too. Thanks, guys, for joining us. But it would be a heavy lift to get 15 guys to do that.
You think?
You know, I mean, it'd be like, unless there's beer involved,
I didn't say there wasn't.
Well, no, but, but it's like, we don't do that bonding like that, right? Mm-hmm. Because we just can't bring ourselves to open up and just to tell a friend that you've been friends with for, listen, I appreciate you, I love you, thank you for this, for you do this thing, and but why do you think that is? What's your thought on that? Because I know you don't focus on just women. You work with men and women. You're not exclusive to anything like that. But what do you think is that we'll go this far and then we hit that wall and we stop?
For men?
Yeah. I'm just curious. And there's no wrong answer.
Well, I mean, not being a male, it's hard to, kind of...
That's why you have a great perspective.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys always say they can't figure out women. Well, a lot of times women can't figure out men. And I'll hear some of my girlfriends saying, oh, he's doing this and that. And I go, listen, that's not like a Bob thing. That's a guy thing. They all do that. It's kind of similar.
We see the same thing about women. My dad used to say, if you live to be 300, you'll never understand women, so don't hurt yourself, son. And it's... He thought he was a comedian, but what he meant by that was that, everybody's different. And especially all women are different, all men are different, and the way we interact with each other is different in every individual situation.
I think guys relate to each other differently. Mm-hmm. And for my husband, he goes on golf weekends.
Sure.
So him and a bunch of his buddies, and they've been friends since high school.
Right.
And I don't have a lot of girlfriends since high school.
We have a tendency to hold on to that much longer than women.
Yes, for sure.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So he goes on his golf weekends, and it's like 3-4 days, and they golf nonstop. And he loves to golf, but by the end, he's like, I don't want to golf. I'm done. He's like, I'm done. I don't want to have a beer. I don't want to golf. And I was like, okay, well, have a good time. I'll see you when you get back. But, he sends me pictures, and they're having a good time, and I don't know what they talk about. I don't really want to know what they talk about.
Probably the same stuff they talked about in high school. I've been there. I had a bunch of buddies that lived out of state, and they all came in. We all found ourselves here one weekend. So let's play golf. So we started on a Friday, and we played at a different course around here. And we played, oh my God, I think Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we played 36 holes every day. And I'm not a golfer. No, I golf because of work.
Okay.
Right? I never swung a golf club until I was 40. Okay, so I'm not that golfer, right? I'm the guy that, I got to go do this because that guy I need to talk to is out there. So, by the end of it, I don't think I played golf the rest of that season. I was done. And these guys are excited. Let's go. How we go over here? Or we're going to go home, and I got to do this tomorrow. No, I'm just going to go home and take a nap. I'm done.
Yeah. If you're not using those muscles,
yeah,
you know which ones you aren't using because they hurt the next day.
And it's funny because as somebody who was always athletic and played sports, I thought, well, golf is easy. The ball's not moving. You just swing and hit it, and then. No.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah.
It's a humbling game.
It definitely can be. Yeah.
Do you golf? Do you do that? Do you find a need to do that in your business?
So my husband keeps asking me to golf.
Okay.
And I keep telling him, that is your thing. And he is persistent in telling me, no, I want to golf with you. And I don't know if he's just trying to be kind, but he keeps at it. And I'm like, I like to swing the golf club. I'll go drive balls. And he keeps telling me I'm good at that. Again, I think he's being kind.
Well, you never know.
Yeah. So we'll go with another couple and do top golf.
Sure.
Again, got to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I talked to couples that golf, and I did a foursome, and I had, as a client, and he brought his wife, and they golfed together a lot. And they had a blast, and that's all. They couldn't talk enough about how they bond on the golf course and how much fun they have together and how they actually really have. That's where they have their most real conversations, is in a golf cart.
Really? Now, I do drive golf carts. I do golf outings, and I'm like on the golf cart and giving out, whatever the guys need. But yeah, and I think at this stage, I'm good.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so I'd like to go back and revisit Peel for a moment. And you talked about Sister's Place, which is really cool. Can you give? I'm not sure that everybody listening really knows that charity and what it is. Can you explain a little bit about that and talk to me a little bit about how a little more detail about how you're breaking up the charity. You're going to do 4 a year, you said. And
Sure. So Sisters Place is such a great group, and they actually just moved. Okay. So they were in Clairton, and they just moved into Carrick in that area, right on Brownsville Road. And that was a huge undertaking for them. I mean, it was, they're still kind of, the dust is still settling. But they take in women and children that are in need, have found themselves that they don't have a home. And they take them in for an extended period of time, where other places it is limited. But they take them in, they help them with training, they help them in just a plethora of ways. And it's extensive. They really get to be comfortable where they're at.
That's amazing.
And then they actually help them in their next transition to homes. And the furniture that's even in the place that they're at, they let them take that furniture.
Wow.
Yeah. So they
that's
always
amazing.
Yeah, they always need a lot of help, because that's something that those people get comfortable with.
Yes.
You know,
and that's important. I mean, when you're in that transitional period, that's critically important, is to have that commonality, that familiarity.
I mean, that is their homes. It feels like home. So when you go to move somewhere, they're not starting from scratch. You know, they get to take that with them.
Yeah, because that could be a step back.
Yeah, so they've always been near and dear to my heart. The executive director is fantastic. And honestly, several of them have come to our headshot sessions.
Is that right? Very cool.
Yes. Yeah, so those ladies, they give and give and give and give. I mean, and their stories are phenomenal. And I know all their backgrounds, and they just, it comes from the heart for them too.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So you're gonna work with them through, this will be probably through June?
Yes, yeah, until June. And that's when our luncheons start with Peel. And then we have them on the first Tuesday of every month is our female luncheons. The third Tuesday of the month is our male luncheons. And they're every other month. And the months that we don't have a male luncheon, we're gonna have a happy hour that combines both the ladies and the gentlemen.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so everybody kind of gets to know everybody, and yeah. So women always want to meet. Guys sometimes need a break, so that's why we did every other.
That's true. That is very true. I've found that you can get burned out on networking pretty quickly, and more so for guys than women, I think.
Yeah.
So where do you go after Sisters Place?
So in June, we're going to award Sisters Place at our luncheon. And then we're actually going to do the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Yeah. So that one's also kind of near and dear to my heart. And I don't talk a whole lot about this. It's not that I'm uncomfortable with it, but when you tell somebody your story, and it's not always a positive story, I have found that people kind of do the head tilt. You know, when you tell them something's going on and it's not positive, oh.
I've been there.
Yeah. So I never wanted that. I always wanted people to just, want to be around me and work with me and just let's go. And I don't want them to feel like they had to be easy with me, And in 2017, it was a rough year. I had a lot going on that year. And I also was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it took about 3 months to go through all the testing. And it's pretty extensive testing to actually get it. But I was getting ready in the morning, and all women are putting on their makeup. You close one eye, you close the other one. And I started to realize that I had no vision in my left eye. And then I started to notice that I was losing hearing in my left ear. So, as one does, you just keep going on with your day. And I
it'll go away.
Yes, I was, doing things with the magazine. I was meeting with the printer, so I just drove to where I was going.
Wow.
And I did call my doctor, and they said, you need to go see a specialist. So I went to the specialist, and they said, you either had a brain aneurysm or you have a brain tumor.
Wow.
Yes. So
that's certainly not something you want to hear.
No, and my husband was sitting next to me, and it was sort of like nothing.
Yeah.
It was like the deer in the headlights. Like that didn't just happen. So it was like 3 hours of tests that I was in there. My eyes were dilated. I couldn't see anything at that point. They took us outside, and he sort of like just let me go, and there's a guy at the door, and he goes, sir, you have to help your wife. She cannot see at all. I mean, it was I think it was very traumatic for him.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
So he took me to the car, we went home, and it was like, all right, next step is going to see the neurologist, the specialist in Pittsburgh, one of the big ones. And they said they're going to look at all your films, and if they think it's something serious, you'll get in on Friday. If they think it's not, it's about a 6 to 8 month wait. So this is a Wednesday. They called me the next day and said, you have an appointment first thing Friday morning. And I was like, well, that's not good. So long story short, we went through a lot of different testing, blood testing and spinal taps and everything else, and they did come back and say that it was MS. So I actually have optic neuritis as well. It's a symptom of MS.
Okay.
So I have to get IV steroids every once in a while when it starts to build up and act up.
Okay.
Which has only been maybe 3 or 4 times, so that's a blessing.
Yeah, that is. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So when I start to go blind and I can't hear anything, then I know something's up. So it's just really a matter of finding the right meds that have, have worked and the symptoms that aren't so bad, and knowing that when something's going on, I got to sit down.
Yeah, I mean, with you're right. Just from our conversation that we've had so far, you had a lot of things going on at that time. That had to be a punch in the gut.
Yeah. Well, as one does, when something bad happens in your personal life, you kind of dive into your professional. Sure. That's when we went national with the magazine. Because you can just ignore the bad stuff and you jump into something that's going to be positive for you.
This is when you did the 2-week thing.
No, the 2-week thing happened a couple years before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we went national with all the Barnes and Nobles while I was going through that. Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's incredibly powerful. And you think about the strength that you had to muster to do that. I mean, that had to be, what was going through your mind? Not only you have all these professional responsibilities, you're also a mom. Right?
Yeah, that was, I think, one of the only things that really concerned me was that I wanted to make sure genetically I wasn't passing that on to the kids. Okay. And one of the things my doctor said to me was every time I would go to an appointment, they would say to me, are you taking all of this in? Do you understand what we're saying? And I said, yeah, and I'm type A. I've researched it, and I know exactly what you're saying. And they said, because you're not emotional about this. And I said, what's that going to do? That's not. Right. It's not going to help. That's not going to make it go away. This is only going to make everyone around me upset. And they said, well, normally when we're talking to our patients, they're very emotional, or they cry, or they have a lot of questions, and they don't take it the way that you do. And I just thought that's not my style. Right. And it's funny when we have our girls' weekends. When everyone's crying over the trophies, and I always tell them, guys, I love you all. I'm taking this in. I'm just not a crier.
Good for you.
I'm just not a crier. I'm like, it's just, to me, I just can't. It's just not something I do. So I wasn't going to take it like that. Not just going to move forward. Crying isn't going to help anything.
Right.
Just realizing what I have and how to take care of it, and moving forward and doing the best with what I have is what I do. And
sure.
And if I know that, I have to sit down, I sit down. If I know there's a day where I can't be up and running around and going to a networking event, I don't. But I don't make excuses for it. And
right.
I usually don't tell people about it. The only reason I really am saying it now is because we're about to start really helping out with it, and that's going to be our next charity.
That's where you're going with Peel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so starting in June, July, and August, that's going to be our next charity that we're helping to support.
Okay.
So they have their MS walk in the spring.
Sure, I've done that many, many times.
I never have, because
really?
I didn't want to tell anybody about the MS.
Okay.
And then when I finally decided that I would do the walk, COVID hit.
Oh, jeez.
So it wasn't a walk, so I didn't do it.
It's been a common theme through all of this for both of us.
Yep.
It's,
So I'm going to do it this year, and then they have another fundraiser that they do every year. It's the Women on the Move.
Okay.
And that's the last Wednesday of September. And I have very humbly accepted the offer of being their guest speaker for their luncheon.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that'll be sort of like, my real coming out of admitting that I do have MS. And so I'll be speaking at the luncheon, and that's about 200 people.
Sure.
And that'll be the largest audience that I have when I'm actually just talking about me and the MS. So.
Wow. And that's it. That's just such a powerful story. And one thing that I love about Pittsburgh, and I think everybody that lives here loves about it, is that we rally the troops better than anybody. And I mentioned to you earlier that I was a member of Pittsburgh's 50 Finest, and we raised money for cystic fibrosis, and which I knew nothing about. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine said that she thought I'd be able to raise money, and but I, like you, I looked into it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize how debilitating it was, and what the impact that it had, especially on children,
right.
on young people. Mm-hmm. And so we dove into it, and it was a lot of fun. Again, we raised a lot of money. We were actually the first group to pass $300,000, which was really cool. They've now, since the groups have recently gone over $500,000.
Wow.
So, but that's just what we do here, right? So, and you have a very powerful story, and I don't doubt that you're going to be a tremendous spokesperson for not only for the organization, but for everybody who is dealing with not just MS, but something like that. It's amazing to hear, and it's really powerful and impactful to hear that story. Just to hear you say that I have this, I don't, it's not me, it doesn't have me, and that's, I think, is anybody who's dealing with a chronic illness or even a terminal illness, that is the most important thing that you can say.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people, and when they're first diagnosed too, they don't know what to do,
right,
or where to turn, or what to say. And during COVID, I was fine during COVID, but this last time, within the last 6 months, I actually did get COVID. And because of the medication that I take for the MS, it wipes out my immune system.
Oh.
And I had to get infusion because they said I was a day away from being on a ventilator.
Good heavens.
And my comment was, well, I'm not taking up a bed. And the doctor said, well, if we have to put you on a vent, you're going on to bed. And I was like, no, I know the hospitals are full. Do what you have to do. We have to figure this out. But I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not going on. And I have a dear friend right now she also has MS. And they call it the Snowflake Disease because no two people are usually alike. And the symptoms are completely.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, symptoms are different for everybody. And it's a tricky disease where once you finally get a hang of it, your symptoms can change.
Something changes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she's the one person that I have found that when she says something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. We have so much in common that both of us, we text back and forth, and it's like looking in a mirror. And she's going through that right now. So I was.
That is so amazing to have somebody to walk that journey with, somebody that you're close with. About 20 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Came out of the blue. She was an athlete. She ran 5 miles a day. She was the picture of health. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere. No history of it, no nothing. But we didn't know anybody. We had no idea, right? She went to a doctor, and I went with her, and they gave her first insulin shot at that first appointment, and she's been doing it ever since.
Wow.
But I can relate to that experience, that initial experience, and your husband as well, because I stumbled and bumbled through that. I had no idea what to do, right? But I did, like you, I did the research, and she did the research. You and Terry Lynn are very similar in that respect. She educated herself, and now she probably knows more about diabetes than most specialists do, right? So, but I just was clueless. I had no idea what to do. I love this woman. I want to help her. I want to, and she would always tell me, I'm not going to break.
Yeah,
right. Can I do what,
Yeah.
And it's difficult. For your entire family and everybody that you do business with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember taking my mother to one of my appointments, and the doctor was asking me these questions, and I answered truthfully. I looked over, and she was like a pile of mush. And I said, this is why I don't tell you anything. I said, no, and I haven't told her anything since.
Yeah, well.
I said, I'm just going to keep everything to myself. I'm fine. And you go, I'm fine. Everything's good. Yeah. So you just keep going,
Right.
What doesn't, kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, and I think it has to have changed your perspective on everything that you do in the last couple of years. From 2017, okay, that's your marker. So I would believe that you're doing things differently than you did prior to that.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because when my husband and I talk, and I say that is like the landmark. Pittsburgh, we were talking about landmarks, and I said that's the landmark in my life.
Right.
Is 2017, because he says, I think that's all we did. I go, no, that was pre-2017, or that was after 2017, because I actually had like a mindset shift. Mm-hmm. Whenever that happened. And I think we our family did sort of, because it was, you don't take as much for granted, and it's, you don't ever know what's going to happen day to day. And same thing with MS. When you wake up, you hope that you're going to feel good, and most of the time I do.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But you just, every day is what you make of it. So
every day's a gift.
Yeah. So I try to take full advantage of every day, and don't overdo it all week long, because then I know I'm going to be suffering, at some point. But everybody does.
Oh yeah, we all have something. Mm-hmm. We all have something that we have to overcome.
That's right. Yep.
It could be an illness. It could be, an addiction. It could be self-inflicted. It doesn't really matter what the causation is, but we all have things that we have to overcome.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Life goes on.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited that you came here and joined us and made the trek up the river to Monessen, and we're willing to share your story.
Yeah,
it's been wonderful.
And this is wonderful. I'm so proud of you.
Well, you know what? We really, I can't take a whole lot of credit because, like I said, I show up and talk to people, and this is what I do. I love having conversations. I love coffee. We put the two together. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. Right? Well, it's got to start from somewhere. So it starts with you, and you're spreading this. So that's a wonderful thing.
I hope so. And, I was telling my buddy Jack here that I do this for one person. My intent right now is not to make money off of this. It's not to get 100 million followers, right? It's just to reach that one person that needs to hear it, right? So there's somebody out there that needed to hear your story today, right? And we are going to touch that person, and just by sharing your personal side with MS and with, divorce, all these things that we even share some of these things. There's that person out there that we're going to change their life.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I think you're changing more than just one.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. That's the goal.
Let the light.
And you are as well.
The light's going to keep spreading.
Yeah, you are as well. I love what you're doing, and I am. You can rest assured I will be a member of Peel because you brought me a coffee mug, so how can I say no?
Hey.
I have to do it now. And honestly, it took episode 5 before somebody brought us a gift.
I told you, gift giving, that's my love language.
That's cool. Yeah, that is cool. That's wonderful. So thank you, and I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to us doing a lot more things together now that we've actually made this physical connection.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.